I have a confession. I just started reading Rachel Hollis's new book, and I know that like people don't like her and they're very opinionated about her, but I really, really, really love this book. It is so what I needed to read right now. So I think it's didn't see this coming. 5 stars. Totally recommend.
Listen, Rachel Hollis speaks to many people, so whatever.
Yes. And
you love what you love.
It will go perfectly with what we're talking about today.
Right on. Well, let's get started. Hi, I'm Sybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis. I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses. Running your own business, it's hard.
But we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
We've already figured it out, but we promise to share everything we know about what it takes to make 6 figures.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
Oh my God, I'm going to be honest. A bunch of it totally sucks. So let's go ahead and get started.
My God, is that the honest truth right there?
Oh my gosh, yes.
So welcome back to Skinfessional. On today's show, we are talking about why women should be lifting one another up, what to do when your clients come to you with a new male idol,
and why sometimes just stepping away is the best response.
Now, if you already feel like, wait a minute, could this be applied to other situations? The answer is yes. Absolutely yes. But even as we were, prepping for today's show, and then I thought of what I wanted to confess about, I mean, Rachel Hollis is a perfect example. If you guys follow her, if you don't, I will just start at the top. I know she's problematic in that she, on multiple occasions, has co-opted and put forward quotes and plagiarized things from other authors, and has never really said, yeah, hey, I'm sorry, nor has she stopped doing it. Like, even this year, she put up, it was Still I Rise, which is Maya Angelou, right?
Yep, totally.
Didn't give her credit. And then when called on it, threw her social media team under the bus, and I think somebody got fired, which is like, okay, it's terrible. Now, with all that being said, like, I like her books. I like her conferences, and I like her. Now, she and her husband are going through a divorce, and it was fascinating to see the difference in the comments on the post on her page about divorce and his page about the divorce. And even when she was putting up like, oh, my new book is coming out, like I'm doing all these press things, I literally saw a comment where someone was like, how dare you? Dave is hurting. That's her husband. And you're over here like monopolizing and making money off of his pain. It's like, wait, what? Like, people are vicious. And so Sybil came with the idea, right, of like, why is it that women why don't we trust other women? Why is there this like inherent competition that comes about? And how can we create an environment where we can all lift one another up together and continue to be successful together?
Yeah. And this is going to sound very feministy. This whole particular show is going to be very feministy, guys. And so if you're not a feminist, I don't know what you're doing, because like, you're a woman. And even if you're like, I'm a woman who's not a feminist, do you believe in yourself and women's rights? You're probably a feminist somewhere. Mm-hmm. One of the things that happens, I think, is that women, we are from a very young age taught that we are designed to fight each other for the only thing that's important, which is dudes, right? Mm-hmm. Our goal in life is to get a boyfriend and get married. And I grew up in a non-traditional home where my mom's like, you don't even have to get married. It doesn't matter. Men don't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, my mom had 3 jobs.
Are you Wonder Woman? Is that what you're talking about?
Like, my mom was like, she had 3 jobs. My dad was kind of a low life. It didn't really matter. And yet still, those were the undercurrents of the home. We're still like, you should look good, enough to go out and get a man, whether she knew she was putting that off or not. And it's because we're raised with that.
Yeah.
Right. And therefore that makes every single other woman competition. Mm-hmm. Right. And that is beyond the competition of just like, hey, I have a job, I have a business. We all work in an industry where women are our competition in business, let alone women are competition in like life. Mm-hmm. All right. So recognizing that, I think, is the first step.
Yeah. Well, I was also going to say too, the industry is about, I think for some people it absolutely is to develop that own confidence, to feel, comfortable and confident in their skin and put like literally their best face forward. But I also think that, a lot of the beauty industry is about staying desirable.
Yeah. I think one of the things that happens within the industry, the beauty industry especially, is that we are looking at a bunch of women and we are sitting around being like, hey, you're a chick. And then what happens is we all are pretending that we, are like friends. We're like, oh, I'm friendly to you. But really what's happening is that we're looking at each other being like, ooh, but maybe you're going to take something from me. Right.
I think too, a lot of that comes from validation, like external validation, seeking external validation, your worth being something that is outside of yourself, whether it's like how your face looks or what your hair looks like or how successful your business is. And if you don't have that external thing, or somebody else could take it away from you, so to speak, then that immediately pits you in competition with them, which isn't realistically what's actually happening.
100% agree. 100% agree. And it's to change that is just changing your mindset, right? This is change your mindset and recognizing that it's happening.
Yeah. I think
that's the first step.
That's the biggest thing too, is just realizing what's happening. And this for you may come, you're on Instagram and you see someone else's business and you're already like, oh, that bitch, or whatever it might be, or comparing yourself to what they have or what they're doing. She's doing it so much better, like whatever that is. There's a balance of finding what you can tolerate. Right? Like there's some people straight up, I just don't follow them because like, I don't like them. And like, you can not like people. That's okay.
Right.
But not feeling like it's a threat anytime someone comes to your page or that like people are always poaching from you. Like they're not. And if they are, like, that's their own karma, like whatever.
That is 100% true. So I know that for me, a lot of times I really do have to sit down with myself and like put on the brakes. Like I'll look at somebody and I'll look at what they're doing and I'll be like, a jealousy will sometimes set in. And to say that out loud, it's hard to say, like, a jealousy will set in with me. And I'll be straight with you. When that happens, I push harder to make sure that I tell them that I respect them. Because guess what? That jealousy is just a mirror to me being like, hey, that person is doing something that you respect. That is something that you think is amazing. And it's just pushing you to be better. Right. And so you need to recognize that within yourself. So I just look at something like that and I tell myself, hey, that jealousy just needs to be, repackaged into, something more positive.
Yeah. Well, also the concept that, oftentimes like I'll see on somebody's social media or something like, oh, that's so cool. Why didn't I think of that? But like, let's just right now agree that there is nothing unique on the internet. Like all the information of, special hacks or this or that, like it's all out there. And even our clients could be Googling the things that they come to us for, but they come to us because we are who we are. Right? They come to you for your expertise, for your intelligence, for your personality. And so even though they could go on YouTube and learn face massage, like they're not, because they want to spend time with you. So when you see something, that's a great idea. Let me start to play with that too. It's not that that person knows something that you don't know and that they're ahead of you, because truthfully, I rip stuff off from other people all the time because I'm like, oh, what a great idea. I love that. Now let me make it my own.
Right.
And go from there. And so like nobody has anything unique. Just stop giving them that credit. Okay. Just stop.
Right. There's nothing new under the sun. And what is it that they say that, it's the perfect sign of flattery, that copying is the perfect sign of flattery. Right. So, but I will say, make sure that if you do literally copy somebody, Rachel Hollis, that you do give them credit. Okay.
Yeah, do not plagiarize things, people. Do not plagiarize.
Give them credit. But it is a matter of just reframing that and recognizing that within yourself. And then the other thing is, when it is okay to look at somebody and be like, I don't like what you're doing. You're not for me. Right. But we've talked about this before. Keep your mouth shut. Block them, mute them, stay away from them. It's fine. You know, don't be a part of that. But if you are liking what somebody's doing, you know, speak up. That person, for all you know, is sitting around quietly crying in their car, which I have a whole talk about, because they think that they're failing at life. You know, you're sitting around being like, damn, they're amazing. They're so amazing. I'm jealous of what they're doing. And they think that they're failing at everything. You don't know where somebody is on their journey.
No, those, I mean, even it's just like, you're doing great and I see you. Like, I got a message this week from someone who was like, because I did all my stories about how I waved thinking it was like my neighbor and it was totally a stranger. And I was like, hey, like all genuine. I was like so embarrassed. And then my friend reframed it for me. Maybe that person really needed that like little boost and you gave that to them that day. So then I was like, okay, if anyone needs a wave, like this is for you in my stories. And this person messaged me and she was just like, oh my gosh, like if I got a wave like that from you, it'd be like seeing a celebrity. And I was just like, oh my God, thank you. And it totally changed my day. So just like never underestimate reaching out to somebody or even just responding on their stories. Like, I see you're working so hard, or like this silly things like that seem like they're not even worth it, can go so far to like totally turning someone else's day around. And I also think like this is a way that we can support and celebrate other people in our industry, other women, and just like help us all rise together.
Right. Actually, absolutely lift each other up. I know that. And hearing from your clients is one thing, but hearing from your peers is completely different. Having a peer reach out to you and be like, I love your work. What you're doing is incredible, means so much more, because it is somebody who is on the same level as you. Even if they're like just starting in the industry, there's still somebody who's on the level. Like there's somebody who knows the struggle that you're going through. They know where you are. They know what you're doing. Right?
It's like they're in the arena with you, like Brene Brown talks about.
Right. And so, you know, try to remember, and maybe that's one of the things that we'll all try to do for each other. Put it in your calendar that once a week, you're going to find somebody that you can go out and be like, hey, I see you. What you're doing is amazing. I like this specific thing. Right? We can all do that for each other. That's a great idea. I love that. I'm going to take that on. Take that on. Because I know that for me, sometimes, you know, we just feel like we're yelling into the abyss and nobody's hearing us. Right? We're like, it's the boss liking us and that's it.
Yes. It just feels like you're standing on a street corner in the middle of like outside of Blythe, California.
Right?
And there's nobody there. In the middle of the desert, there's nobody there.
Except for that one hater who just hates on all of you, the things you do.
Who drives by, you suck. And you're like, God damn it.
Right? It's that you suck person again. Oh God. Right? So let's talk about the fact that one of the things that happens is that, and I see this especially in the beauty industry, but I also know that happens in Alex's industry, is that women trust men and men's opinions more than they trust each other's. All right. This happens all the time. And I see this specifically when it comes to doctor recommendations, like dudes selling product, dudes selling machines, and they're happening all the time at shows now. And dudes on Instagram. Now, luckily in my industry, there are less male estheticians, but the few that are out there are actually very good. So I see you, Kai. I see you. You're amazing. But there are so many like bro guys that are out there who are just like, oh, listen, I know what I'm talking about. And by the way, I have a penis.
Well, you know why? It's because they show up with that energy. Apparently we all show up with like BDE, you know? Right?
And they're like, I got this. But women will listen to them and be like, oh my God, really? Did you look at my boobs? So nice. Right? Like I'll sit down at a show and I'll be like, so what are you guys doing? And this is a skin show for anybody who's out there who might be a therapist who's listening to us. I'll sit down at a skin show and I'll be like, also, what are you all looking at? And people are like, oh, I was at the such and such booth. And like, you know, did you see that guy? And he was so hot. And he was like showing me, I'm like, did you just say he was so hot? Wait, can we talk about product for a second?
No, we were just objectifying other male bodies. I mean, it's fine.
I mean, yeah, no, I'm sure he was hot. I'm sure, but like, can we just talk about like the masks for a second?
But how much of this do you think is like literally coded in our DNA? That a man with like that charisma and that big dick energy is someone who can like take care of you. So you better like get under their wing and like be friends with them because they can like kill a woolly mammoth and you'll be fine.
I mean, probably a bunch of it, but you have to then look at it and be like, do I really want this product? Do I really like this thing? Or is he just like got charisma and razzmatazz?
Judgment.
Well, right. It's the Chicago razzmatazz hands. Right? If you're not watching this, if you guys are just listening to this, you are missing out on a razzmatazz.
Totally worth it.
So yeah, I mean, I do think some of it is encoded, but some of it is just, it's ingrained in us to want to be liked and seen by the male. And especially as women, as we get older and we're not seen. Especially older women, we are not seen. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a great Frankie and Gracie episode about that, how they're just like, hello, not seen, which that's a great show, by the way, about women in the beauty industry, done so incredibly well.
Mm-hmm. I wonder too, if I'm just like getting this visualization of, you know, like, the White Walkers? Is that what they're called in Game of Thrones? And you know, when they would like come and they would just like step over one another to like scale a wall.
Yes.
Right. So that's what it feels like to be in an industry that's dominated by women. In that you're just like stepping over anyone to like get to the top because you just want to get to that place where you'll finally have recognition from your peers or your clients or your family or like whatever it is. And then there's like a guy and you're like, wait, what? What does he have to say? What? And then he's like distracting. And I'm not, also all of this that we're talking about, like we understand, like I'm the same way. It is totally like on a subconscious level that you just like inherently trust men more. Mm-hmm. Like it's not that you're doing anything wrong. We're talking about this because the first step is realizing that it's happening and then consciously making a decision to move forward with it or not.
Right. That's exactly right.
The zombies will forever also be in your visualization here.
Right. And it is true. I mean, and I've noticed I've been in the industry for a while. When I first started in the industry, there were never dudes on the floor. Like there was never, like you would not see dudes hawking things. You wouldn't see them online selling stuff. You would never see the doctor who created a line selling his product, and he wouldn't be good looking. That's for sure. He'd be some ugly old dude with warts and stuff. And you'd be like, oh, that man with the weird eye, right? That guy. Okay.
Right, that guy. Yeah.
Right. But now it's not like that. You know, now it's, you know, they're like, look at my chest and we're all bronze and I've got my shirt open and, you know.
And loafers.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, guys, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, right now.
I mean, and they're out there. And they're trying, I mean, they're putting out that big D energy, you know, mm-hmm. And you have to understand that part of that is the sales pitch.
Yeah.
Right? It's no different than putting sexy models on a car to sell it.
Yeah.
Right? It's no different. You have to understand, though, that doesn't make the product better. And it...
I was like, am I falling for loafers instead of a bikini? Is that what's happening here?
I mean, women don't get, I don't know if women get excited by like men. Women, it's proven, guys, that women get excited by men doing things and being successful more than like bodies. Mm-hmm. So men actually, that's why like those HGTV shows are so hot for women because men are doing things.
Oh, they're building things with their hands and they have tools.
Right. They're like, I'm hammering things.
I'm like, oh, you hammer that, baby. You hammer.
Right. And they're being successful selling houses.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
And being good parents. Right?
You know, even in like, I wasn't saying the tech industry, but I feel like any industry. So as a solo business owner, how... maybe you've had this experience where you finally ask for help for something and you're like, oh my God, that was like so much easier. And I think as women, we are like culturally raised or socialized is the word I'm looking for. to bear the brunt of the work and to do all of the work, right? Talking with Sybil, like I'm in this rut right now where like I work all day, and then the minute I finish working, I literally walk out to the kitchen and I make dinner, and then we do the dishes, and then we walk the dog, and then it's time to go to bed. I'm like, fuck, that was like my whole day is boring. Like I need something that's just for me. And we do this in our business as well, where we don't ask for help, but men absolutely will ask for help. They're going to ask. I've heard so many stories on, podcasts of like the men ask for help in building their business. They're not afraid to ask for money in building their business. And so they build it faster. And I think that we would be so much better off. And I'm 1,000% guilty of this, of asking for help and getting for help and not being afraid to spend the money to get to that next level at any time, you know?
Right. Though I will also say that it is also, it is harder for us to ask these things and get it, but you can't actually get if you don't ask.
Yes.
Right. So I will say that it is harder to get if you don't ask. And I've talked about this book before. It's called The Shadow Negotiation, and I'll put it in the links, which essentially is this lady who did all this research on negotiation. And I am a skilled negotiator. I negotiated many things for many years. And essentially what she learned was that the reason why many women don't make the same amount of money as men is not actually because they're women. It is because they don't negotiate at all. And so men actually negotiate. Like they'll like leave a room and be like, fuck that, I'm not taking that money. Where a woman's like, I guess I have to take this. Right. And that's how it is. Now, there are lots of reasons for that. It's not just because you're a woman. It's because we also think I have a family. I have, like there's lots of reasons for it. She talks about that. But women don't negotiate and men do. Also, men are more likely to value themselves more and leave a room and be like, oh, fuck you, I'm worth money, where a woman is not.
Well, it's that external validation piece too.
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, knowing that is important. It's important.
I was like, I have to say this, and then I don't remember what
That's
that
okay.
thing
I literally
was.
just wrote down, speaking of things to write down, a side note, I literally just wrote down everything Alex said about her life, because guys, that is exactly what your clients are thinking right now. If you're looking for good copy to sell things. Okay.
Yeah, I'll buy all the things, you guys, all the things. Just,
I work all day. I work all day. I'm so bored. I need something just for me. That is good copy, guys.
That damn truth right there. Yeah, well, and also I think right now, what we're in October of the year 2020, also known as March 317th, it's like Groundhog Day. And like, to be honest, so my husband is in construction. He has left the home to work every day as normal. He was never furloughed. He was never, like out of work for any reason. Like we've been inside this house has been absolutely the same as it was, with the exception of all of these small things that I got to go out of the house to do and like interact with people is now gone. Yeah. And so he comes home and he's like, yeah, man, I'm so tired. And I'm just like, I'm so fucking jealous that you got to leave the house today. And I know you went to work, and I know you were stuck in traffic, and I know you had to deal with that annoying inspector, but like, you got to leave the house today.
Wait, did you talk to somebody? That's amazing.
Right,
yeah,
right. Like a real person, like not over Zoom. Like, oh my God. And he's like, well, you go places. And I'm like, my life right now is so much the same every single day because I thrive on routine, but I'm also bored of my routine. Like, so much. So if you also are kind of in that situation where you're just like, I'm really tired and I don't have patience for bullshit and I don't know why, it's called 2020.
Yeah, that's pretty much, Alex, thank you for summing up pretty much my life. Also, extroverts out there, I feel you, because this is not the life that I'm used to living, and not talking to people or going out and doing things and being apparently stressed all the time with my job makes me sad.
Well, you're a problem solver too. And what
there's no problems to solve. Got nothing to do. Super boring.
I mean, I tidied up like the sales stuff that I wanted to do of like the big stuff so that I could like hibernate for the rest of the year. And not having a problem to solve, like I'm creating problems to solve.
That's the best kind.
I mean, who am I if I'm not fixing something?
Well, that's why I broke my business one year. And then I broke it again, made lots of money. So that's a whole nother thing. I wanted to make sure that we talked about
What to do?
Yeah, what to do.
Oh my gosh, I was moving there too.
And about succeeding.
Okay.
Right? So let's go ahead and make sure that we chat about what we do about all of this, about like big D energy. So first of all, can you get your own big D energy? Are there ways to do that?
Big V energy. So actually, funny story. I met this woman one time who her whole life story, I don't remember what started it, but was like about fear and how to overcome fear, but use it as a tool, you know, for her success. And she was an athlete and doing just like downhill skiing and all this stuff. And she's the one who actually taught me about this like big vagina energy. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? And I don't know if this is how men do it. And I imagine that, you know, everyone listening has like their own way of doing this, but truly, 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 I can't believe I'm even saying this. I'm so embarrassed.
Do it, Alex.
I know, I'm going for it. She was like, all you have to do is just like literally like think of like your vagina, like I have a fucking vagina, you know, like that kind of vibe. I kid you not. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go out and walk to the bathroom, but I'm going to like take that vibe with me. And there was like dudes out in the courtyard and they all literally stopped their conversations to like, look. And it's like, to me, that is what big V energy is. It's just like, yeah. Like, what a fucking badass. And I think that the more that you can encompass that, because also that badassery is not threatened by anybody else. Like nobody can take that away from you no matter what. It's just a vibe. All right.
It is a vibe and you have to get it. And however you do that, whether you listen to like a song to get you pumped, whether you think of like a thing that you've done that's successful and you always remember that, you know, whatever it is that like gets you going like that, that's what you do.
Song?
Whatever. I mean, you know, hey, whatever it is. I mean, for me, I just walk around being like, I'm the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm the best. Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song actually, and I remember it came out a while ago, and it was like making fun of, it was this guy on YouTube being like, I'm the best. I'm the best. And I was like, yeah, pretty much that's my go-to jam in my head. So yeah, pretty much. And like, if you're not the best, you fake it till you make it. You're just like, I am the best and I will be the best. I'm going to be the best. And nobody knows different. Because most people are just faking it.
Yeah, no, of course, 1,000%. And I would say, you know, there was a time too where I was like, there's no way I could even think that. And so if you're like, well, I'm the best at this, and that's something that I can use right now, you can totally like ladder step your way up to the I'm the best energy.
Woo! That's how it is. That's totally how it is. And then you just like do the things you need to do to be the best. So if you're walking around being like, I'm the best, but I'm an idiot. Okay, well, maybe you should definitely work on that. But I guarantee if you're listening to this, you're probably not. So we don't really have like, you know, idiot listeners. We have like really solid listeners. I've talked to many of you. I've seen you. I've stalked you on Instagram. I know who you are. And I've been jealous of some of you and been like, wow, you're doing some amazing things.
And we were talking about this too, of like, sometimes you literally like, you know, you have this energy, like I'm the best, and you see somebody else who's also winning. Like, what does that internal monologue for you look like or sound like?
When I see somebody else I'll be honest with you, there are very few people that are winning harder than me. So there are very few, but there are a couple, and generally I look at them and I'm like, I will reach out to them and be like, oh, this person's like better than I am. And I'll reach out to them and be like, hey, you're doing something amazing. I think that you're great. And I really would like you to like help me. I'd like you to like teach me that thing, help me with that thing, explain what you're doing. And I'll be honest with you, most times people won't. And that always makes me very sad. You know, and
are you asking them for free, or you say, I'll pay you? I
don't care. Like, I'll come, I'll pay you. I don't care. Sometimes it's just advice. Can you just give me advice on this thing? Like, I see what you're doing. How did you do that? What program were you using? What, you know, some things are very specific.
Interesting.
Right. And this is why this conversation has come up, because I don't ask for help for like things like this very often. But when I do, I have found that I get a lot of pushback. Right. Whereas the people who've helped me the most are actually people who have come to me for advice. And I'm like, here's advice. Here it is. And actually, I get a huge amount of information back. right? That, and I'll be like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know this. I'm unaware of those things. That's amazing. Thank you so much for, helping me out. I mean, Alex, that's how we met. And we have a great relationship. We do lots of things. You fill in gaps. And so when somebody is reaching out to you and asking you for help, you definitely need to change your mindset. Don't think they're going to steal from me. I'm jealous of what they're doing. I'm afraid. And I do think that there are all these things that happen in people's minds. But it did take reprogramming. It did take reprogramming for me. Because and it wasn't in this industry, it was a different industry I worked in. When I worked in tech, it was like that because there are so few women who worked in it. Learning to lift people up. There's so few jobs. You'd be like, well, if I tell you how I did that, you're going to go and take that. And next, you're going to have the one job that's available.
Right.
But no, that's not how it works. How it works is the best person for the job is going to get the job. There's probably enough for everybody. There's a big enough pie for everyone if it's available. And the more women who are working, the better off we all are. Right? Because honestly, I still don't understand why we're not ruling the world.
I know.
The only reason I can foresee is because we're fighting each other instead of fighting the right people.
Yep. So many things to think about and talk about with that. If you're listening and you're like, okay, well, I don't have that confidence of saying I'm the best. One thing that can be super helpful, and I say this is I'm not there either, but doing little things and celebrating each of those wins, I think often this happens with habits too. We want to run a marathon. And so we're like, okay, great. Well, I'm going to go out and run 5 miles today, even though I don't even have shoes. Right. So it's well, how can I break this down into one thing that I need to do today? And maybe if you're listening and you're feeling like you're just kind of stuck in the pandemic pile of poo, maybe that one thing for you today is just to write it on a Post-it note and put it somewhere. You don't even have to do it. Maybe it's just writing it down and then celebrating that, right? I think that's where we really kind of miss the mark because we think, oh, well, this isn't good enough to celebrate. I'm not good enough to celebrate. But what about all the little things that you decided to do today that are going to move you closer to that bigger thing? So that's one way to stair step your way to the place where you're I'm the fucking best.
Right.
And it will fluctuate. But I think that those little things, one after the other, are super, super helpful. And if you find yourself continually in an environment where you feel like I can't share, or it feels unsafe to share or whatever, find a new environment where you can be yourself, where you can share things freely, where you can help support other people and also collaborate with other people. So change a venue. It's a magical, magical thing. Cause I've been in offices where I felt like if I shared any ideas that I was either going to be criticized for them or they were going to be stolen from me. And then I wasn't going to be allowed to do them. And I was just like, you know what? I don't think I belong here anymore. And I've never looked back.
Right. And that is such a good point. Make sure you're surrounded by people that you do trust. Right. That you trust. And I know sometimes it's hard because you maybe you've been burned before. Maybe, you've been well, I've trusted other people and it's hurt me. You're like that pit bull who was in a fighting arena or something and now you don't trust. But listen, there are lots of people to go out there and trust. And that's why we have in this conversation is because we are trying to make more and more people to lift each other up. And the only way to do that is to kind of put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Right? You got to put yourself out there and do it. And the more that you put yourself out there and the more that you do it, the more that other people see that it can be done.
Yeah.
Right? Show by doing.
Yeah. When was the first time in business that you felt that another woman was trying to put you down or keep you small?
Oh my God. My very first job. So my very first job was at a place called Total Woman. Total Woman, guys, all women spa and gym. And literally the first job I had, I was in there and I was like, hi, I'm new to this space. And I just kind of need a little help. And every single other esthetician was like, well, you got to figure that out on your own. And I was like, oh, so that's how this industry is. Okay, cool. I can see how this is going to be. So It is not uncommon for this to happen. Now, I've since worked at places where I walk in and people are like, oh, hey, we're here to help you. You know, so would I work at that place again? No way. There's no way. I would have gotten that job and been like, so these people are a bunch of bitches and they're not for me. And I would have left. I would have worked there as long as I needed to just get a step up to get to my next gig.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that goes on, and it's sad.
So much. I mean, I've had multiple people who I looked up to as like mentors and teachers, then tell me like, well, you can't say that or you can't do that because they felt threatened by like my knowledge or just like my own spin on stuff. And also, you guys, like this was about anatomy, which I was like, I'm not fucking making anything up. And like, you haven't created anything. Like anatomy is anatomy. Like calm the fuck down. But one of the decisions I made too is that I want to situate myself where I can be in a place where I can collaborate with other people and not work for other people. And anytime that I find myself in that situation where I'm like working for someone, immediately like all of my like intuition, inner voice are like, no, we must escape. So I definitely think that like listening to your intuition about like, is this environment really the best for me is so super helpful so that you yourself can be in the right energy to lift yourself up and then also help lift others around you. Another thing.
Solopreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are like the ladies at Total Woman of like, you got to figure it out for yourself. Just like literally hit the pause button, right? Nobody's asking for perfection. Nobody's asking for you to just like change who you are tomorrow, but just start to be aware of what you're doing and what you're saying, especially, and do that like gut check. And if after you're like, ooh, that like really didn't feel right. Like what was it about that I didn't like? And this is where journaling really comes to bat for me. It's my favorite, you guys. So actually just this week, we were at the grocery store. You know how they like wipe every single cart down, you know? Yeah. And I like the little miniature carts because like I really don't buy a lot of stuff. I don't need a big cart. They're hard to negotiate, all that stuff. And me and my husband go to the grocery store together. So I went and grabbed a cart and then I turned around. He was touching the other cart. And I had seen the woman who was like managing all that. I thought I saw her walk away. So I said to him, I was like, oh, why did you just touch that? Now it's going to be dirty. And then as I stepped back, I saw that she was behind him and he just looked at me just like, oh my God, you just outed me. And I felt so much shame in that moment, like so much shame. I was totally ashamed that I did that I set him up for that there was a witness to this crime, like all of this. And then he was like teasing me about it. And I was like so super triggered. And I just felt so shitty about the entire situation. So you have an option, right? Okay, I can be oblivious and continue to let this pattern play out, or I can make a conscious decision to like actually examine what's going on. So to my journal, why did I feel that way? Like what happened? And then you just start writing and asking yourself that question, like, why do I feel the way I feel? Why did I do that? And so I just made a decision that teasing, right? Which also is like, you're trying to make somebody else feel shame is essentially what teasing is. And I hate it.
Well, the question I have, because for me, I looked at that as a completely different. And estheticians out there, you let me know what you feel. When you were like, oh my God, you just made that dirty. I was like, well, thanks for helping out the person whose job it is to keep those clean so that everyone else knows that needs to be clean, because otherwise somebody else is going to have like a weird COVID cart, you know?
Right. I know. So, we didn't want COVID carts. Well, he was embarrassed. I was embarrassed. And it just like fed into one another. And it ended up that he walked around the store by himself while I shopped because we didn't even want to be near one another. So it was like really not a positive experience. But again, I didn't like how that felt. I did my gut check and I'm like, this is shitty. How can I make this not happen again? And to me, like that's where journaling really comes into play. Right. And deciding that if there's something that you want to receive from other people, you can't sit there and be like, well, I'm not getting what I wanted if you're not putting it out in the first place, you know? Absolutely. So Alex, stop trying to shame people because it was the epitome of you can dish it out, but you can't take it. So lessons learned. But I definitely encourage you, and like your paper doesn't have to be that big to do journaling, like an 8x5 notebook, just like half a page. Maybe it's just one sentence, like just start somewhere because and even like talking to somebody, it's not the same, because in the mornings it's just like me and my like tired brain, because I just woke up, and the journal page, and like I'm able to process and work through things that like I feel like have been plaguing me forever. So I know I talk about this all the time. I should wear a shirt that says I heart journaling. It's just such a fantastic way to just ask yourself, like, why do I feel the way I do? What can I do differently? And then to keep moving forward and take action.
And another way, if you're maybe not a journaler, because everyone knows here that I don't journal. Yeah, I'm not a journaler. I'm like, F that journaling life. That's not my life. But another way to do that is like, for me, I look at things that like trigger me, or like that I feel like come up for me over and over again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is that bothering me? Why does this keep happening to me like this? And I really do a self-assessment of myself. And like, yes, you can do it in a journal, but if that's not your jam, you can literally just sit and like, look at your life. You can go to therapy if that's your jam. I've done a bunch of therapy, love my therapy. Right. And you can also, you can work on, talking to your friend about it, because sometimes your friends actually have perspective you don't have. I've actually had my best conversations with friends being like, so this happened to me the other day, and I noticed that I do this, and I'm not going to get mad at you. And you have to not really get mad. And you have to be like, I'm not going to get mad. Do you have any perspective on this that I'm not? Like, is this something that I do that do you understand this at all? And they'll be like, oh my God, I'm so glad you asked. Oh my God. You're like, oh, thank you. So sometimes other people have better perspective on you than you do, because they see outside of you.
Yep. 100%.
Right. So Alex, how did we start this podcast today? Did I have a conversation with you where I was like, so I was on the pattern and I noticed that it says these things about our potential relationship.
Yeah.
Please don't do this. Please talk to me first.
And I was like, I totally do that, but I have no problem with it. I don't feel bad about it. I'm not afraid. I just choose to leave stuff out.
Right. So these are things that it's important to do. Have conversations, and noticing them once again is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Right. And we've talked about this. We're going to beat it to the death. Noticing them. 100%. Right? Noticing them.
Now, what about you're in your office. Your client is on the bed. You're working on them. And they're like, so Jacques just put out this new cream and it's like so amazing. Like, I'm going to start using that and stop using the stuff that you have been trying to sell me for years now. Like, what do you say? Yeah.
So let's talk about how, once again, women love to listen to men. They especially love what, is known as new cow, right? The hot. It's exciting. And and the dude just told her to do it. And he is sexy. Jacques, sexy. So one of the things that's going to happen with this is you're going to be like, all fuck Jacques. Right? But what's really going to happen is you're going to be like, all, so tell me about Jacques and his product. Right. So you're going to start asking questions. I find that the best way to actually get to the root of anything is just to ask a bunch of questions, because you're trying to actually get the person to give you what the real answer is. Right. So as they continue to answer the questions, like, so why do you like this product? What is it about this product that's exciting? What we'll really get down to it was like, well, it just looks really good. They'll be like, it looks really good. He seems really honest. Like, I really like what he has to say. And you're like, well, I hear a lot of he's. Like,
but it helps with anti-aging.
You seem to really like Jacques. So what is it about Jacques that you really dig? And then just get in about Jacques. And then be like, well, it seems you really like Jacques. Maybe you could try one of Jacques' products, but, I'm glad that you're into new products. Maybe you could also try one of mine at the same time. Mm-hmm. But it is hard.
And finding their motivation too, when someone comes to you with a idea that you're like, that's bullshit, of just like, oh, so what is it that you're actually looking for? And like, what do you hope to achieve with this? And then, I mean, like we've talked about before, it comes down to like copy as well. Like, what is their motivation and how can I match what they actually want with what I want for them and find like that middle ground.
Right. What you don't want to do is smack talk their new love. No. Jacques, right? No. Don't dismiss the fact that they are now open and receptive. Jacques has opened their heart and made them receptive to something that they have not been receptive to. Okay. So honest to goodness, Jacques has done you a favor. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is it annoying that it's a dude? Yeah, it super is. It super is. And sometimes it requires you to just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes you have to just be like, oh, cool. I'm super glad that you love Jacques because Jacques is selling you the newest, hottest, I don't know, butt cream. I have no idea.
Bullshit that I've ever heard.
Right. But, Alex and I have had this conversation about yoga stuff. Like that. I get enraged by one of the yoga guys. And I'm like, this guy is selling bullshit.
He's just there in his uniform of a black t-shirt, black pants, selling crap that you don't need.
But he sells it like he knows what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. And he says that he's better than he literally says he's better than everyone else and that everyone was doing it wrong until he figured it out.
Well, I mean, that's like the epitome of marketing.
And then he's like, and I'm a god.
Yeah. But you don't know it because I look like a normal dude.
Right? No. Oh my God. He makes me so crazy. I mean, it makes me want to like destroy things. And then I send them to Alex, be like, this guy makes me want to kill myself and him. But this is what happens. And you just have to understand that these are triggers inside of you and then just let them go.
Ooh, you know, that just reminded me too of that product to stretch your psoas, which is just like a knife you can stick in your hip. Do you remember that thing?
Oh my God. That one, I sent it to you and I was like, why would anyone use this?
People
Guys,
love
it's like the pointy thing that literally just like, and it only is for your psoas apparently, and apparently you should be using a pointy knife into your psoas.
Like $120. No, I went on YouTube. Is what I'm talking about, y'all. I went on YouTube and I watched a video and now I'm doing abdominal massage and it's amazing. And I used my hands and it was free. So
it seems like a reel, by the way. You show a video of that and be like, no, not this. Why? Pain. And then you being like, so much
I know.
better.
I would actually, I could. So many ideas for reels. I love the constraint of 15 seconds. I just have to say.
It's true. It's true. Okay. So we've talked about that and we've talked about journaling. I want to make sure we get through all of our things, guys. We have a lot of conversation we have about, we listen to men too much and we don't raise up women. Raising up women.
Raise up. I also want to say this phrase that Sybil shared with me today that is, I'm so excited to use it. You know, maybe there's people in your friend circle, in your family who currently believe things that are outside of reality. And they want you to believe what they believe because what they believe is the truth because they've been told so by people on TV. So the phrase, you don't need to engage with them, right? Because engaging only leaves you frustrated and also disappointed that this person is just like in a cult. The phrase is, I'm sorry that we can't agree.
Yes.
Which is true. Totally true. Period. End of conversation. You can walk away. You don't have to lose your dignity. You don't have to be screaming in the street, walking away from a person who's laughing at you, which truly has happened. It was the most infuriating thing that's ever. I'm sorry that we can't agree. And I would love to add more to that sentence, but it doesn't need any more. It's a full sentence.
No, you're fine. And this is from my friend Lori. Thank you very much, Lori, if you're listening.
God bless you, Lori.
Yes, thank you, Lori. So when you have to have a conversation that is hard with someone, and whether it's your client, whether it's something else, and you know, sometimes it's with a dude or it's about a dude, it's about product, whatever, and they're telling you some crazy stuff, and your eyebrows are like going up into your hairline.
Ooh, brow lift.
Right? You're like, what? I don't need eye cream. I've got you and your conversation. Right? Understand that they're trying to get a rise out of you often, or they just want to spout some stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It's cool. It's cool. You're a rock in a river and the water just goes around you. And you finish with, that's nice. I'm sorry we can't agree.
Mm-hmm. And move on.
And then you move on. That's it.
May we all practice that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Lori. We love you.
To eternity. So we've given you a lot to think about, a lot to ponder. And we're also, as always, super curious what your experience has been about this. Maybe you have been at the receiving end of being tried to be pushed down in the zombie crawl by another woman. Or maybe a situation happened too where you're like, man, I didn't really like that. I would like to do something different. how do I make that happen? So hit us up. You can find us on the Grammygram.
Oh, yeah.
Do the kids call it that these days?
I don't know if it's the Grammygram, but I do know it is the Gram. So
at Skinfessional is where the show lives. At Your Skin Fitness Expert is where Sybil lives. Inside your phone. She's there. Inside your phone.
And Alex is in a place that you're not going to be able to find.
Holla for Mala. You can find it. If you just remember that, holla for the Mala. Or for Mala.
Oh,
you can also put my name. I hope it comes up. I think I did that.
Yes, you do come up. Yes.
There's another, here's a fun way. I found an Alexandra Ellis who's a personal trainer in New York, and she went to physician's assistant school, and I followed her throughout that too. Yeah, it was really cool. I was like, hey, name twin. Because she got tagged in a post that was supposed to be me. And then she was like, that's not me. And I was like, oh my God, we should be friends.
You should be. Oh my God. Totally.
Yeah.
There was another Sybil Solon out there. I would totally be friends with her.
Maybe there is.
I am a friend. There is not. I'm the only Sybil Solon. But there is an Asian girl whose last name is Solon, not spelled my way. And her first name is Cecil.
Whoa.
And so I'm her friend because our name is close enough.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So tell us also your doppelganger. Leave it in the Skinfessional box. What's that number, Sybil?
818-473-5277.
I'm just still thinking about there's a person out there named Cecil Solon.
Cecil Solon, yeah, and she speaks almost no English, but
just emoji.
We're totally frenzies on the IG.
That's awesome.
All right, guys. So until next week,
keep your secrets to yourself.
Unless you're telling us.
Goodbye.
Bye.